Back again, this time with little men. And yesterday I just got cut off, and I'm not entirely sure what caused that. But anyway, I think we're still on. I get mixed. I think it's chapter 16. And Dan was trying to tame a colt, I guess, right? And I'm not entirely sure. I think we were right here. And I think I said this, so I'm going back over it. He strapped a folded blanket on his back, on the horse's back, or colt, whatever, and then let him race and rear and roll and fume as much as he liked. After a few fits of rebellion, Charlie submitted and in a few days permitted Dan to mount him. Often stopped short to look round, as if he said half patiently and half reproachfully, "I don't understand it, but I suppose you mean no harm, so I permit the liberty." Dan patted and praised him and took a short turn every day, getting frequent falls, but persisting in spite of them and longing to try a saddle and bridle, but not daring to confess what he had done. He had his wish, however, for there had been a witness to his pranks who said a good word for him. "Do you know what that chap has been doing lately?" asked Silas of his master one evening, as he received his orders for the next day. "Which boy?" said Mr. Bear with an air of resignation, expecting some sad revelation. "Dan. He's been breaking the colt, sir, and I wish I may die if he ain't done it," answered Silas, chuckling. "How you know?" "Well, I kinder keep my eye on the little fellers, and most generally know what they're up to, so when Dan kept going off to the pasture and coming home black and blue, I mistrusted that suthin' was going on. I didn't say nothing, but I crept up into the barn chamber, and from there I see him going through all manner of games with Charlie. Blessed if he warn't throwed time and again and knocked round like a bag of meal. But the pluck of that boy did beat all, and he 'peared to like it, and kept on as if bound to beat." "But Silas, you should have stopped it. The boy might have been killed," said Mr. Bear, wondering what freak his irrepressibles would take into their heads next. "S'pose I oughter, but there warn't no real danger, for Charlie ain't no tricks, and is as pretty a tempered horse as I ever see. Fact was, I couldn't bear to spile sport, for if there's anything I do admire, it's grit, and Dan is chock full on it. But now I know he's hankering after a saddle, and yet won't take even the old one on the sly, so I just thought I'd up and tell. And maybe you'd let him try what he can do, Mr. Laurie won't mind, and Charlie's all the better for it." "I shall see." And off went Mr. Bear to inquire into the matter. Dan owned up at once and proudly proved that Silas was right by showing off his power over Charlie, for by dint of much coaxing, many carrots, and infinite perseverance, he really had succeeded in riding the colt with halter and blanket. Mr. Laurie was much amused and well pleased with Dan's courage and skill, and let him have a hand in all future performances, for he set about Charlie's education at once, saying that he was not going to be outdone by a slip of a boy. Thanks to Dan, Charlie took kindly to the saddle and bridle when he had once reconciled him to the indignity of the bit. And after Mr. Laurie had trained him a little, Dan was permitted to ride him, to the great envy and admiration of the other boys. "Isn't he handsome, and don't he mind me like a lamb?" said Dan one day as he dismounted and stood with his arm round Charlie's neck. "Yes, and isn't he a much more useful and agreeable animal than the wild colt, who spent his days racing about the field, jumping fences, and running away now and then?" asked Mrs. Bear from the steps where she always appeared when Dan performed with Charlie. Of course he is. See, he won't run away now, even if I don't hold him, and he comes to me the minute I whistle. I've tamed him well, haven't I? And Dan looked both proud and pleased, as well he might, for in spite of their struggles together, Charlie loved him better than his master. I'm taming a colt too, and I think I shall succeed as well. Let's see. I'm taming a colt too, and I think I shall succeed as well as you if I'm as patient and persevering, said Mrs. Joe. She's talking about Dan, smiling so significantly at him that Dan understood and answered, laughing yet in earnest. We won't jump over the fence and run away, but stay and let them make a handsome, useful span of us. Hey, Charlie? And that's the end of chapter 16. And I know that was very, very quick, but I read 2 chapters just right before this of On the Banks of Plum Creek, and I got that dry mouth again. I haven't even taken any antihistamines today, so I don't know what that's all about. But anywho, we'll come back tomorrow with chapter 17. Is called Composition Day. All right, have a great day. And be sweet, don't be ugly. Love to you all. Mwah. Bye-bye.